Twin Noir, Two Punks and a Tape Machine. 2 years after recording this album, we will do a review.
Finally.
We always had the idea to make a review. It's 2 years ago and we are releasing our new album in some weeks. So we thought it's time to make a review about this beauty. I mean, we started this band actually in Mexico City, and the first tracks we did during Corona in Mexico City because we escaped from the lockdown, I remember. And I think 4 or 5 songs I actually recorded in Mexico City. And when we came back, our first shows were then in Portugal and not in Germany.
Which is pretty odd, you know. Even for us it was a bit odd because we had in the beginning, you need to understand the beginning of the band was like, we had like 3-4 songs in English, then 3-4 songs in German, and we were not kind of sure what we were gonna do.
Which direction it will take. We tried a lot of stuff.
Yeah, sound-wise was kind of easy for us, but the language thing was a question mark. So when we played like the first show in Mexico, we totally like it was instant. We played some English songs and then the people were like, yeah, it's cool. And we played the German song and everybody freaked out completely like, what?
Mexico, we realized we don't have to sing in English, that we can tour international.
Yeah,
and I think also we stayed for 5 months in Mexico, and it was beautiful to look to or talk with you also about German music and punk. What kind of German punk influenced us? So it was good to do this from far away.
Being away from home and being so far away from home made a deep impact on how we look at our language, how other people see actually the language and the country and the culture. Because we've been in the middle of like Mexican tradition, food, music, people.
Yeah, but people there have so much knowledge. They know, especially the punk scene, they know a lot about German bands.
They knew bands that we never heard of.
Yeah, this was really impressive that people are digging so deep into music culture, not only in Europe, in the US, like in all around the world. Yeah, it's cool. And I think also like we have German influences in this record, but also we both grow up with international music, huh? So for me, even if we sing in German, it's an international way of producing what we are doing.
We have a lot of influences, and I think punk is actually just one of them. I hear a lot of like really 90s alternative grunge kind of stuff in it as well. I hear a lot of like reduced independent music.
Let's talk about songs, because I think also like some songs really have influences. Like for me, like Eins will gesagt sein, which was one of our first singles, really has this. Like the whole album is more got new wave, goth influences, but also there's a song like Eins will gesagt sein who got a lot of punky force, like Beastie Boys, for me, like.
Eins will gesagt sein, who you love ist wunderbar. Eins will gesagt sein, we're the kids of rock and roll.
or how can you describe this?
Yeah, that's a good example because Eins will gesagt sein was actually one of the first recordings we ever did as a band. Even not even knowing that we are a band at that point, really, like it was just a project at that point, and we started out and
I think it was our third song. Like we had this English song called Dark Love, then we had Frank was one of our first German. In the same time we
and I think there's a song that we released after it called Analog, which was like these three songs were like Analog, Frank, and Eins will gesagt sein were like 3 songs that combined everything together.
I think Analog is also, for me, when I listen to this riff, we were talking about like this Walk from Pantera, or for me, I grew up also with Helmet, who got this very rhythm riffs. But I thought we didn't want it like going like metal. We wanted to do it in a punky way.
Morgensonne, ein Kaffee, in der Zeitung kannst du die Toten sehen. Stau auf der A100, im Radio spielt ein Liebeslied. Rentnerspruch.
Punk was not really the word at that point. Remember when we played like the first time with a drum machine just? And I said we need to make it more our sound. Like I had no fun copying like doing a metal record or doing a strictly punk record or like an indie shoegaze stuff or something. I didn't want that. I heard like when we were meeting for the first couple of times, I heard already like with the bass lines and the drums. I heard already at that point like, hey, there's something else. We need to spin the wheel and find out what's gonna come out of this.
I think also with the drum machine, we were listening to a lot of independent stuff, like what other people are doing. Like I was reminding like Nine Inch Nails or other groovy bands like White Zombie, who also did it in the early 90s, working with real drums but also with drum computers.
Yeah, it was at that point it was still a hybrid of everything. And coming from a different perspective, I'm really into like psychedelic stuff. I like all the 60s krautrock stuff like from Germany, and that's a big influence on me. So I had a different approach to things, where he came from a like this 90s electronic thing, and that all pushed together and everything, and I felt like, oh cool, we have a bit of this, bit of that, but at that point we still didn't know where we're gonna go. Like we had no idea. Like it was just like an empty, a blank paper at that point.
The first song, Ich tanz, which means I dance the whole night along, is the whole lyrics.
Ich tanz die ganze Nacht allein.
I remember this was the first song we actually finished in Mexico. I think we had 3-4 songs made in Germany, and then we knew the second lockdown will come, so we decided to go to Mexico. And I remember you already had the lick, and this was I think the first one that we recorded. Or how is your?
I remember when we I think it was the first song that was written in Mexico, and I remember how we did the vocal on this, especially. Remember, we were at our friend's place. They had a tattoo studio, like on Main Road.
Barrett Studio. Shout out to Barrett Brothers and Barrett Studio.
And we were there, and we had the opportunity to work in the studio.
They had an empty room, which we could use for. There was also a drum inside on the bass and some stuff. So.
Yeah, and I remember we were sitting on the couch, and it was kind of a break. Like in the whole studio, everybody was out for food or cigarettes. I can't remember. We had this little cigarette breaks, and I remember we were sitting with Adrian on the couch. It was you, Adrian, and me on the couch, and I was editing that song Ich Tanz, and how you want to sing on this, and I just grabbed the SM57 and then I had some reverb on it, and
actually we record a lot of songs with this microphone, huh?
Yes. It's
like
no special equipment.
Yeah, I like the sound. It's a really rough sound. It's got a little distortion automatically in it, and it got a low cut. It sounds like a little bit like a telephone or whatever. And when we started to working with this, we came back to work with this.
And the funny thing is, we both had headphones on at that point, and I was singing just this line in like different kind of variations, and I finished it through, and it's just this line, it needs to be like this, okay, and that's it. That was the whole vocal process.
I remember also that we did some really we played a lot guitars directly into the sound card, into the computer. We were working sometimes really in an easy way, but also I remember that you did a solo or a guitar part in the big room with an amplifier.
Yeah, because
actually these two we bought in Mexico because we were playing 15 shows also in Mexico.
Yeah.
And we bought them on a music market, and you brought them back to Europe. Old school Sun amplifiers they were never sold in Europe, huh? It was
this version not, I think.
Yeah. Paul Punk actually was a song we recorded in the Portugal recording studio, Portugal.
Right here.
Paul war mal Punk, seine Revolution vergammelt im Schrank. Alles für das Dosenbier, alles für den Straßenkampf, alles für die Anarchie. Doch es ist
I remember I was making a week off. I went to the beach. And you stayed here, and when I came back, you showed me Paul Warmer Punk, and I loved it. It's a slow song. It's a little bit poppy. Got some poppy influences, but also like this 80s vibe, dance vibe.
Yeah, it was. Paul Warmer Punk was a song that came super naturally. There was no real writing process into it, and. It's actually it's a song that, for the non-German speakers, it's a song about getting conservative when you're getting older. And at that point I had several friends turning conservative, being super mellow and easy. And that was a thing that was like cooking up in me. Panik, oder? Das ist wichtig.
Panic. Actually, we can say Panic and Destruction, two songs when we play them live, they had a lot of energy. And we played in England, and then there was a guy from the BBC, and he pushed the record to Iggy Pop, and Iggy Pop played two songs from this record in his radio show on BBC 6, Panic and Destruction.
I am Iggy Pop, and they were Twin Noir. They are a new wave duo from Berlin, featuring Cody Barcelona on voice, guitar, and sound, and Ian Volt playing the bass and singing a little bit too. Here again are Twin Noir with Panic.
Yeah, came like, it was not supposed to be like a single or something or anything.
Like Iggy Pop choose these two songs.
Yeah,
from the record.
they choose the songs, and they and they pushed these two songs.
What did you thought about, like, when you were sitting in front of the radio and he played, like, we didn't know which songs he will play.
I think it was supernatural. Just I had no expectations, so it was pretty surreal for me to even announce the band and my name and his name.
I mean, these two songs are more or less the hardest songs on the record.
Yeah.
I was like surprised, like, okay, this guy chose the two hard songs, like, for his radio show. I love that.
Yeah. You need to understand that most of the people go for the more mellow songs.
Yeah. I mean, when we play live and then sometimes in a break we ask people, do we play the next song fast or slow? The people always scream like fast, fast. But then after fast songs and when we play like a more softer song, people start really dancing also to our low stuff. Because I think they are more groovy or 80s dance.
Everything is kind of danceable on this record, so
That's true.
I cannot complain about this.
I think that's also a target that we had since the beginning. We want to do music which is danceable, huh?
Yeah.
Not like this hardcore punk where you flip out and do mosh pit, like, no.
I like this too.
Yeah, me too.
I like this too. But
I mean, on Destruction you could do this. Sometimes people were jumping. I think people are jumping to our stuff. And
we were feeling it already at the first show in Munich. When we played one show with a drum machine and we didn't stop the drum machine. People were dancing and not pogo or anything else. It was dancing.
It's the disco beat, or the disco vibe in our beats.
Yeah, I think so too.
Two punks and a tape machine. Beautiful vinyl. Two punks and a tape machine with a picture. That's me. And that's you. Look at this. This was actually the tape machine we also had in Mexico. We bought this one. We had this one on tour in Mexico. Yeah.